Hey there folks, Luke here with the Outdoor Gear Review. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today for this episode, we are doing backpacking basics. We're going to be discussing all the gear that you will need if you decide to go out on a backpacking adventure. This is just the basics. So guys, grab a cup of coffee. This will take a while. Let's get started. Now, as you guys can see right here in front of you, there's a lot of gear. And right here is enough gear to basically cover you on a fantastic trip out in the backcountry, your favorite national park, wherever you may be going. Now, when you decide to go backpacking, there's a checklist that you need to consider. Now, everybody's checklist will be different. I'm going to go through my checklist and the gear that I use, that I take with me on every single trip. Now, of course, there is not a one-fits-all solution when it comes to backpacking. Everybody has an idea in their head, a philosophy, a system that works for themselves. So this works for me, you may want to add to it. You may want to remove from it. But it's something that you can build upon if you're new to backpacking. The first piece of gear that you need to consider is your trusty backpack. Now of course they come in a number of different sizes, styles, internal frames, external frames, so on and so forth. So, it will take you some time to figure out basically what you need for your adventure. I recommend that you go to an outdoor store such as an REI, something like that, and try some packs on. You have to make sure that you get a pack that fits you 100% correctly. Once you fill a backpack full of gear, 30 pounds and up, the fit becomes absolutely crucial. If you have an improper fit, you could be extremely uncomfortable. You could actually hurt yourself. You'll hurt your muscles in your shoulders, your hips, so on and so forth. So make sure that you get a pack that fits you correctly. It's absolutely fine to get a backpack that's larger than what you need. You can make that your four-season bag. So in the summertime, you don't put as much in it, you cinch the pack up. As the seasons continue, winter comes, you can fill it up more, and you have the space to move into. Something to consider. Talking about backpacks, one thing to look for specifically is a rain cover. Some backpacks come with them, some backpacks do not. If you're going to be outside in the snow, outside in the rain, you do not want your gear getting wet. Consider that. The next item that you need to consider is your shelter. Now, it could be a tent, it could be a tarp, it could be a bivvy, so on and so forth. You need to decide on the type of shelter that you need for the type of trip that you're going on. If it's wintertime and it's going to be super windy, super snowy, well, a three-season tent is not recommended. You need something stronger. Now, if you're in the summertime, you can get away with a bivvy. You can get away with some sort of very ultra-light tent. Whatever. Either way, you definitely need some sort of shelter to protect you from the elements. Let it be rain, bugs, wind, so on and so forth. Next up, you have to begin thinking about insulation. Insulation from the ground, insulation from the air. When I say insulation from the ground, I'm talking about a sleeping pad. You need some sort of barrier that will block moisture and block cooling from the ground, so when you sleep on it, you don't freeze to death. That's a sleeping pad. They come in all different shapes, sizes. Some are made for summer months, some are made for winter months. It really depends on the type of trip that you're going on, like I said before. Protection from the air comes with a sleeping bag. They do come in different sizes. They come in different types, such as synthetic fill. They come with down fill. Each has a pro and con, weights, so on and so forth. So again, you need to have a bag that will protect you and take care of you at whatever your temperature level is. If it's a cold winter night and it's going to be 15 degrees, you need a good bag that goes to at least 15 degrees. I recommend that you always go about 10 degrees colder with the bag that you're going to use, because oftentimes the temperature ratings aren't quite accurate. Yes, you can survive in it, but you may not be comfortable in it. So there you go. Now with sleeping bags, there's a lot of pros and cons to synthetic fill versus down fill. It's something that you'll have to just, research, learn about, and make a decision upon. So folks, we have covered the biggies so far. And what I mean by biggies are the big items. Now we're going to be kind of going into the smaller items, but still equally as important. So just to kind of go over everything one more time, you have the backpack, right? You have your shelter, you have your sleeping bag, and you have your sleeping pad. Now we move to the other items. Now the next two small items, quote unquote, have to be just the most basic but most required of items. You have water and you have food. Simple enough. You need to have a method of drinking water, bottles, bladders, so on and so forth. Of course, you need food for energy to fuel you on your hike. You might need dinner, you might need lunch, breakfast for the next day, so on and so forth. So make sure to plan accordingly. Now, when it comes to water, you also need to have a way of gathering more water. So you may want to think along the lines of ways of purification, filtration, so on and so forth, as well, in addition to your bladder or your bottle of water. Okay, well, you have your food, you have your water. Now you need to talk about your stove, your cooking kit. If you're going to have some sort of dinner that requires hot water, how are you going to heat it? If you're going to have coffee, how are you going to heat it? So on and so forth. Now, when it comes to stoves, guys, there's lots of different types. You can have alcohol, gas, solid fuel, so on and so forth. Now, you may want to heat with just a fire. But if it's pouring the rain and you can't get a fire going, you need to have a backup plan. So always plan accordingly. The next item up is equally as important as everything else, and that's just simple, plain old-fashioned fire. You have to have a way to get a fire going. Maybe you're lighting your stove. Maybe you're actually building a fire to stay warm. Either way, you have to have a method. Now, I always go by the philosophy that 1 is none, 2 is 1. So I always have extras when it comes to fire and so on. So I usually carry a fire kit. I have a lighter inside of this. I have a ferro rod. I have some trioxane to get a fire going if it's damp and wet. I have some magnesium shavings to assist getting my fire going. Always make sure that you have, especially when it comes to one of the basic fundamentals of life, food, heat, water, so on and so forth. You make sure that you have ways to get it going, even if you lack in a certain area. So if I don't have a lighter, I have my ferro rod, so on and so forth. Next up, we have what I typically call the miscellaneous items. Equally as important, but often small in nature. I usually keep them all in what I call my miscellaneous bag. Now, it's wintertime here in the mountains, so it's definitely cold. I always make sure to carry some hand warmers. I tell you what, even if I don't use these during the day, I can use these at nighttime. Throw them in my sleeping bag with me, and I'll be one happy camper, I promise. So typically, I carry one of these. But that's really not a necessity. Toilet paper, yeah, that's a necessity. Yeah, you can run around, you can wipe your butt with leaves if you want to, have fun with that. I say, I'm gonna carry some toilet paper. That's just me. First aid kit, incredibly important to have with you anytime that you're out and about in the woods. I recommend highly that you customize your first aid kit. Put some extra pain reliever in it. If you have sinus issues, put some sinus pills in it. If you have specific medications that you need, put that in there. Put it for even a day's worth more than what you're planning on using. You never know. It's always better to be smart and prepared than not. Toothbrush, toothpaste. Very simple hygiene stuff. Equally important. Right here is my little light bag. I have a headlamp. I have some photon lights. Incredibly valuable. There will be plenty of times when you're hiking along and it gets dark. Maybe thunderstorms come in, you're hiking too long, not paying attention, darkness surrounds you. It is vital to have a source of light. And really with this one, I look at it just like fire. 1 is none, 2 is 1. You need some form of light. That will help you if you hear something in the woods. It will help you set up your tent in the dark, help you get your stove going, get a fire going, collecting whatever you may need to collect in the dark. Incredibly valuable. One final item that's extremely important would, of course, be your cutting implement. You never know when you're going to need a good knife, and oftentimes when you're out backpacking, you will discover important needs. You can use this to get your fire going, you can use this to make repairs, make adjustments to your gear, so on and so forth. Even for taking care of yourself with blisters and stuff like that, having a good, very, very sharp blade is extremely important. Now, of course, knives come in all different shapes and sizes, to each their own. But you need one. My friends, that's the basics. That's the basic list of gear that you will need for your backpacking adventure. Now, of course, there will be personal items that you will want to bring that make your trip your own trip. What I have shown you here are just the basics. It's the basics of everything that's very, very vital for when you go out. Now, some people will carry a chair. Some people will carry a pillow, so on and so forth. What you add to that will be your own. Now, one thing that is missing from this collection of gear is additional clothing layers. It's always vital to, plan ahead, bring the proper clothing, and that may include an extra pair of socks. It may include a thermal layer, an additional layer on top of that, a rain block, something like that, So when it really comes to those items, you will have to plan accordingly, plan for the conditions, plan for the unknown. So guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. If you guys have any questions for me, please feel free to drop them down below in the comment box. I will try my very best to address them. Google Plus, with that awesome integration there, does not allow me to reply to every single message. So some I can, some I can't, it's all messed up, whatever. There you go. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys around. Everybody, take care.